so remarkable. If a scene wasn't working or you just didn't feel like you connected to a certain thing, your character wouldn't do this, and you would talk to him as the writer, he would change it in such a beautiful way and just transform the scene and make it exactly everything you felt but couldn't articulate. As an actor, he was such a strong co-star. You never felt like he was judging you or critiquing you or, okay, what am I gonna change when we cut? You just felt like he was so present and you were able to lose yourself in the scene because he was so convincing.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds say there was a major online push against Blake that exploded over just 2 days, sometime between August 9th and the 15th. Out of nowhere, the internet flipped on her, and suddenly everyone was talking about leaked texts and wild Reddit threads supposedly led by Jed Wallace, killing it and shaping the whole story. But here's where it gets interesting. Newly unsealed court documents show Jed Wallace actually admitted that a lot of what Melissa Nathan and Wayfair thought he could pull off wasn't true. These files, tied to Blake Lively's case about alleged data handling, paint a totally different picture. Turns out, Jed and his team at TAG might have only been watching what was happening online, not running some massive smear operation like people assumed. There's been talk about deleted evidence and shady moves, but the testimony doesn't really back that up. Still, what's raising eyebrows now are the business practices of Jed Wallace and Melissa Nathan. The documents hint at things being taken out of context. Jed even got questioned about other projects he did for past clients, and that's where things start to sound even more complicated. During questioning, Michael Gottlieb brought up something shocking. Jed Wallace had claimed he could boost content across multiple platforms using some kind of special algorithm. But when Gottlieb pressed him on it, asking if his team could actually do that, Jed admitted he didn't even have a team. Then Gottlieb asked if Jed's company, Street Relations, could really elevate content across algorithm-based platforms, and Jed flat out said, absolutely not. That's when Gottlieb called him out, saying he'd misled clients by claiming his team could make content go viral. Jed backtracked, saying the team he mentioned was actually another company, TAG, who helped place stories online. Basically, he clarified that TAG's job was to get client stories published as news pieces, which would naturally make them spread across the internet. So when they talked about algorithmic elevation, they weren't literally hacking any algorithms. They were just placing stories strategically to get attention. In short, it seems like the fancy language about algorithm boosting might have confused some clients when all they were really doing was trying to get more media coverage and traction online. Now here's where things really get wild. Remember that list Melissa supposedly showed Wayfair? The one promising her team could control Reddit threads, take down posts, and make content trend across platforms like Discord and 4chan? Well, it turns out Jed Wallace says that wasn't true at all. When asked about it, Jed confirmed he'd seen that claim. Use our team of specialists to build digital messaging to dominate in the client's favor. But when pressed, he admitted he didn't know anyone capable of actually doing that. Gottlieb then asked if Melissa Nathan was even tech savvy enough to understand how to weaponize algorithms or influence platforms like 4chan. And Jed said he had no idea. Things got even more surprising when Gottlieb revealed that Melissa testified under oath that she doesn't even use social media. So how could she possibly run online operations like that? Jed then confirmed he personally couldn't do those things either, and he didn't know anyone who could. By the end, it sounded like the big promises made to Wayfair about full digital control weren't realistic at all, and Jed admitted those claims weren't exactly a fair or accurate picture of what their team could really deliver. Things got tense when Gottlieb pressed Jed Wallace about why Melissa Nathan kept sending out statements promising digital services he clearly couldn't provide. When asked directly, Jed dodged the question multiple times, saying he had no idea and didn't know enough about it. Gottlieb didn't let up. He pointed out that Jed was sitting there under oath admitting he couldn't manipulate social media or algorithms, didn't have a team, and didn't even know what some of those supposed services meant. So how could clients be told he could do all that? Jed kept saying he wasn't sure if Melissa was even referring to him, which only made things sound more suspicious. At one point, Gottlieb made it clear if Melissa's statements were about Jed and his company, Street Relations, then it would mean clients were misled about what they could actually deliver. Jed's vague answers didn't help his case, and it honestly came off like he was trying to avoid giving straight answers. From the outside, it looks like there was serious confusion, or maybe miscommunication, between Jed and Melissa about who could do what. But either way, it's clear Jed didn't have the tools or the team to back up those big digital claims. So here's the twist. Even after Jed Wallace told the court he had no team, emails showed him saying the exact opposite. In one exchange, marked as Exhibit 18, Jed talks about having a forensic team working on reports for a client. When asked about it under oath, he admitted the email was real, but claimed the client actually belonged to TAG, not him personally. Gottlieb questioned him hard, pointing out that this all happened just days before Jed started working with Wayfair Studios in early August. Jed said he only did a few consulting calls for the other client, but the timing was almost identical. Then things got even more suspicious. Gottlieb read Jed's own words from the email. "I have my forensic team building a quick report on the sentiment." But wait, didn't Jed just swear in court he had no team at all? That raised big questions about whether he was exaggerating his role or trying to make himself look more influential than he really was. It's starting to sound like Jed might have been promising more than he could actually deliver, and the paper trail makes that hard to ignore. When Gottlieb showed Jed Wallace that email where he bragged about having a forensic team, things got awkward fast. Gottlieb asked who that team was, and Jed admitted he didn't have one. When pressed again, Jed said he couldn't even remember who he was referring to. Then Gottlieb asked if anyone, human or AI, was actually working on that so-called sentiment report. Jed said no, nobody was. He tried to explain it away by calling it forward thinking, saying he planned to review things himself later, but it didn't sound convincing at all. Eventually, Jed admitted that his claim about having a forensic team wasn't true. There was no team, no report, nothing being built at the time. Gottlieb kept pushing, pointing out that Jed had made similar claims before about having special teams and tools to analyze online data and even tweak algorithms. By the end, it was clear Jed had been overstating what he could do, and the testimony showed that a lot of his big tech talk was just smoke and mirrors. When Jed Wallace was finally cornered about his false claims, he brushed it off by calling it puffery. But that word raised serious eyebrows. In business talk, puffery means using vague, exaggerated phrases like the best ever, stuff that's obviously opinion, not fact. But what Jed did wasn't that at all. He didn't just say something harmless like, "We're the best in the game." He told clients he had a forensic team running data reports and that he could manipulate algorithms, things that sound very real and specific. That's not puffery, that's misrepresentation. If you tell a client you have teams and tools that don't exist, that's not just exaggeration. That's giving false information to land a deal. And that can cross into deceptive business territory, which could get you sued. So when Jed tried to downplay everything by calling it puffery, it only made him look worse. Either he wasn't being truthful with the court, or he seriously misled clients like Wayfair. Either way, his credibility just took a major hit, and that's a tough spot to come back from. Jed Wallace kept calling everything puffery, but that excuse doesn't really hold up. What he told clients wasn't just exaggerated sales talk, it was straight up false advertising. And when you compare his testimony with other court filings, things start looking even clearer. According to newly surfaced documents, there may have been no real digital campaign at all. Emails between Brianna Costello and Katie Case on August 7th show them admitting it was already too late to launch anything meaningful. The movie was coming out in just 2 days. Brianna even wrote, "It's likely too late for the social plan to be really effective." Katie replied, "I agree." Their follow-up messages showed the team scrambling. Melissa asked if she could share materials with Jed over Signal, but they were basically out of time. They even agreed there were only a few things left to do. Social kill, prep talking points for a Today Show appearance, and avoid stirring up more attention online. So despite all the earlier claims about massive online operations, the reality was way less dramatic. It seems there wasn't any full-scale campaign happening at all. Even after realizing they couldn't actually launch the digital campaign, Melissa's team still told Wayfair they could handle it, and even sent over documents outlining what Jed Wallace could supposedly do. But here's the problem. In his own testimony, Jed admitted he couldn't do any of it. When you go through the evidence, there's no sign of an active online campaign at all. What the team was really doing was writing lines for Justin's upcoming Today Show appearance and discussing basic marketing themes, nothing about managing or boosting social media. The digital strategy Wayfair thought they were paying for never really existed. And here's where it gets messy. Private messages between Melissa's team show them gossiping about people involved in the project, including clients and coworkers, instead of focusing on the actual job. It's unprofessional and honestly shocking, considering Wayfair was reportedly paying between $25,000 and $30,000 a month for their services. So while Wayfair thought they were hiring a team to run a complex digital push, what they really got was a lot of talk, some TV prep, and plenty of behind-the-scenes drama. Behind the scenes, Melissa's team was caught talking badly about people like Jen Abel and Stephanie Jones, all while knowing it was too late to launch the social campaign they'd already sold to Wayfair. What's wild is that Jed Wallace wasn't even named in this lawsuit, yet his name keeps coming up in all the documents tied to it. Wayfair has maintained from the start that the supposed digital strategy never actually went live. TAG pitched them this big flashy campaign, then turned around and admitted it was mostly theoretical, saying things like, "Don't worry about the scenarios. They might happen, they might not." By the time TAG was officially brought on, the media coverage had already spiraled, and there wasn't much they could do besides talk to reporters and prep Justin for interviews. The whole situation looks more like a reactive PR scramble than a planned strategy. And that's the real issue. If you're selling clients a service you can't actually deliver, that's not just bad business, it's misleading. Whether it was poor planning or intentional exaggeration, none of it makes TAG or Melissa's team look trustworthy. Here's the bottom line. TAG and Jed Wallace told clients they could pull off digital strategies they clearly couldn't deliver. Jed keeps calling it puffery, but if he couldn't actually do those things, that's false advertising. And if he could do them but denied it under oath, that's a serious problem too. For months, Wayfair was reportedly paying around $30,000 a month, yet there's barely any proof of a real digital campaign happening. TAG did help with press relations, prepping Justin for interviews, polishing talking points, and guiding him on how to handle sensitive topics without stirring more drama. But that's standard PR work, not the high-level digital manipulation they were selling. There's even evidence suggesting someone from TAG may have tipped off TMZ about a court filing before the New York Times could publish it, just to control the story's timing. That's intense, but still, nothing in the records shows social media manipulation ever took place. So in the end, it's either Wayfair paid nearly $100,000 for a service that never existed, or someone isn't being fully honest about what really went down. And neither option looks good. At this point, it's looking more and more like Jed Wallace exaggerated what he could actually provide. He swore under oath that he didn't have a team, yet there are emails where he tells people he does. That contradiction alone makes things look shady. The PR world isn't exactly tightly regulated. There's no official license or required degree, so anyone can claim to be an expert. Melissa Nathan came from the PR scene, and Jed had some background too, but this isn't the first time his claims have raised eyebrows. He's even been linked to another situation where he allegedly misrepresented his qualifications. Now, with this new testimony, it appears Jed and Melissa's team might have overpromised what they could do for Wayfair, especially around social media strategy that never actually happened. They charged serious money for work that, according to their own statements, was impossible to deliver on time. So while we're only seeing bits of the full testimony, one thing seems clear: this doesn't look good for TAG or Jed Wallace. From what's been revealed, it really seems like Wayfair and Justin Baldoni may have paid big bucks for services that didn't even exist. So here's where everything lands. The newly unsealed documents make one thing super clear: there was never a digital campaign. Blake Lively's claim that deleted evidence would somehow prove there was one just doesn't match what's in the records. The texts, emails, and signal messages all show the same story. Jed Wallace didn't run anything, and TAG admitted it was already too late to start. In the end, Justin Baldoni didn't just get scammed out of serious money. He also got caught in the fallout when those false promises blew up in the media. The idea that we can bury her or manipulate socials was never real. It was all talk from a team that couldn't deliver what they sold. So while Blake thought she was being targeted, the real damage came from inside, from exaggerated claims and empty promises. What a mess. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications, because there's a lot more tea coming your way, and you won't want to miss it.